what's up, c'est Quentin, bienvenue sur la chaîne. Aujourd'hui, cas un petit peu particulier, tu te souviens, il y a quelques années, j'ai vécu en Australie. Et je vivais avec un de mes potes qui s'appelle Tom, qui est australien. Et ça fait 6 ans qu'on ne s'est pas vu. Et pendant ces 6 ans, on a un peu perdu contact, il s'est passé plein de trucs. Sauf que de son côté, il s'est passé des trucs assez majestueux. Il est parti vivre dans des pays vraiment pas communs, l'Arabie Saoudite ou encore le Pakistan. Et le truc cool, c'est qu'on a repris contact et que je l'ai invité à venir me rejoindre en France pendant quelques jours. J'ai pu l'interviewer, donc sous le format vraiment d'un question-réponse interview type podcast, où on explore qu'est-ce qui l'a motivé surtout à aller dans ces pays particuliers. Qu'est-ce qu'il en a ressorti? Qu'est-ce qu'il a aimé? Qu'est-ce qu'il a moins aimé? Est-ce que ça peut peut-être te brancher un coup ou pas? Je trouve que c'est intéressant parce que c'est des pays qui sont vraiment, comme je le disais, peu communs. On n'en entend pas parler. Perso, j'ai jamais entendu personne me dire je vais aller en vacances au Pakistan. Sauf que lui, il est parti y vivre, parti au Pakistan, parti pareil en Arabie Saoudite. Donc dans cet épisode qui a été tourné complètement en anglais, à la fois, je t'ai toujours poussé à apprendre l'anglais, tu commences à me connaître. Ça m'a ouvert plein de portes à l'international et je veux que ça fasse la même chose pour toi. Du coup, c'est le number one skill qu'il faut absolument que tu maîtrises. Donc cet épisode, prends-le comme une opportunité pour améliorer ta compréhension orale en anglais, d'autant plus qu'il a un accent australien. Donc ça va te faire devenir un peu familier, je dirais, avec une nouvelle manière de parler cette merveilleuse langue. Sur ce, abonne-toi si tu n'es pas encore abonné à la chaîne. Je te souhaite de passer un bon moment. Il y a plein de valeur ajoutée dans cet épisode. Allez, plus.
Et là, j'ai la chance et le privilège d'avoir mon ancien colloc de Sydney, avec qui j'ai vécu à Sydney pendant plus d'un an, entre 2014 et 2015. Et là, lui, il a emménagé depuis à Londres, donc il est beaucoup plus près. On a la chance de pouvoir être là. Il est venu me visiter, enfin me rendre visite du moins le week-end. Ça fait trop plaisir. Donc ce qu'on va faire, c'est qu'on va rentrer un petit peu dans son background, mais surtout des trucs cool qu'il a pu faire dans sa vie, puisqu'il a fait un max de trucs. Même s'il est d'Australie, il a pu aller dans les Royal Marines en Angleterre. Il a pu vivre au Pakistan. Après, il a pu vivre en Arabie Saoudite. Et c'est des pays qui sont très très peu populaires, je dirais, en termes de travail. Tu dis pas à tes potes, je suis allé bosser au Pakistan. Genre, c'est un peu out of the box, ça sort du truc. Donc là-dessus, sans plus attendre, on va partir dessus. Je sais pas combien de temps ça va durer. On va essayer de discuter, on va délirer. On s'est mis une petite boisson dans nos petits shaker sync. Et puis let's do it. Donc là, je compte sur toi pour faire un max d'efforts sur l'anglais. On va essayer de pas parler trop vite. Attention, il a un accent australien, donc forcément, ça va être un poil plus compliqué. Mais prends ton temps. Mets-le pas en x1,5 ou en x2. Fais pas le mec. Décortique, prends le temps. Je ne ferai pas de sous-titres sur la vidéo forcément parce que ça va durer au moins une demi-heure et je ne vais pas me faire chier à faire des sous-titres sachant que c'est du podcast, donc c'est censé être de l'audio, n'est-ce pas? Donc, let's get right into it. Big doggy dog?
I have no idea what you said, but it sounded good.
I've explained everything about what we were about to say, and the good thing is the people are always asking for more episodes in English. They want to improve. Yeah. So I figured that was actually a good time for us to have a chat about experiences you might have had overseas.
Cool.
Trying not to have too much of a thick Australian accent.
I'll try not to. I'll try. You'll have the best accent, the best type of English accent.
We'll do the best for people to understand as much as possible. So we'll have the video is going to be available on Spotify. Ooh. And the audio is going to be everywhere, like Apple Podcasts and all this kind of crap. Ooh. So to put things back into perspective, we met in like 2013 at the end of the year.
Yep.
I was looking for a gym. You worked at that gym.
You did.
I think I did explain all that situation back when I talked about Sydney, but in French, so that's going to be good for them to actually learn a little bit English.
Yep.
Is it still recording? It is. That would be a shame.
That would be awkward.
The last week when I was in Estonia, I started recording a whole episode just by myself, and the mic stopped working at like 5 minutes from the end. So I missed out on the whole thing. And sometimes, have a quick look at mine. If those blue ticks, the blue lights stop working, you tell me right away.
I'll definitely wave, definitely.
So we met in 2013 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I was looking for a gym. He was outside, he was yelling, giving papers to people. And this is basically how we met. We started working with each other not so long after that, a couple months after that. And then we moved in together a few months after that as well.
Yeah. It's pretty quick romance, really.
Yeah.
A little straight.
So tell us a little background. Where are you from? Up
Yeah.
until the time that we moved together in Sydney, what have you done before that?
Yeah, so my background, a bit of a mix. So I was very fortunate that my mum and dad there. So one's Australian, one's English. So I've got an Australian and a British passport, which makes my life much easier to travel on. But yeah, I have a younger sister, older brother. who we ended up doing a lot of traveling together when we were younger, so backpacking, so that was super fun. So, before I was 17, so I left home when I was 17. I'd been to over 50 countries before I was 17.
That's sick.
Backpacking, so that's kind of where the whole travel bug started, I guess. And with mum and dad, we got to experience some really cool things. I kind of lived, and we had a base in Australia, so I finished kind of high school in Australia, and that was quite fun, in a place called Gold Coast, which is beach and beautiful.
So this is where you were born?
So I was born in New South Wales. So I was born about 6 hours below where Gold Coast is. Yeah. So pretty much you've got Sydney, Australia, you've got Gold Coast, and it's pretty much smack bang in the middle.
Okay.
In the middle of nowhere. So
what's the name of it?
So that place is called Coffs Harbour.
Never heard of it.
No, it's known for the big banana. So if you ever go to Australia, it's got a big banana there. So that's the most exciting thing that kind of happens there. But so that's, my grandparents lived there. But we were kind of always traveling. When I was about 7 years old, we did a year and we traveled the world
from the age of 7.
Yeah, so
I started moving around.
Yeah, so we did backpacking when I was 7 years old. My sister would have been 5, I was 7. My brother would have been, he would have been 9. We just did a whole year of backpacking. So we all had a backpack and travelled. Went to school in England for a semester, so we did about 2 or 3 months in England. And then we went all across Europe for the first time. Southeast Asia we did for the first time.
And you were 7 years old?
7 years old.
Wow, that's good.
So I think that trip we did close to 20 countries in the 12 months, and ended up doing the US. So we went to New York, went to the Twin Towers before they got knocked down. Went all the way from New York down to Florida driving, and then back up from Florida all the way to LA, and then finished that trip. And that was
pretty good trip.
Pretty much 12 months worth of traveling. So that was amazing. And then pretty much both my parents are teachers, so very lucky that we'd take a term off. We'd go travel for 3-4 months and be able to kind of get homeschooled and. Just kind of continued that, and pretty much done most of Europe, most of Asia. The only 2 continents yet I've not been myself is South America and Antarctica. So
Antarctica.
those are 2 that is
fair enough. Yeah. So from that point on, then you decided to leave the Gold Coast.
Yep.
And did you go to not the US Army, the UK Royal Marine before moving to Sydney?
Yeah, so I left left the Gold Coast at 17. So I finished high school pretty much back on 17.
Yeah.
And all I ever wanted to do was join the armed forces. So the Australian armed forces is a little bit smaller. Had a look into it, but the UK kind of we were big armed forces, being based in Europe, a little bit cooler than being based in the middle of Australia with nothing around you. Also the intensity of the training. I think the quality of training in the UK is much better than the Australian Defence Force. Just a bigger army, bigger budget, so they can do a lot more.
So at 17 you left for the UK?
Yeah, so I left for the UK, and that was my first kind of trip away by myself. So first off, me and my dad went to Thailand. I spent about 3 months in Thailand doing Muay Thai and training, and it was very ad hoc training. I didn't have a really, a good understanding of how to train at that point. So it was literally...
What, in Thailand?
Yeah.
So you went to the UK at 17 to join the forces?
Yeah. So I went, finished high school. Went to Thailand with a goal of being prepared for
I got you. Yeah, you wanted to prepare yourself for the...
and then went over to the UK, so started that process. That was very exciting. I was ready and definitely, physically I don't think I was ready. Emotionally I probably wasn't ready. It was... but also the biggest thing is being a 17-year-old, first living out of home, having that freedom and that flexibility to do stuff. So I was ended up doing a lot of partying and going to nightclubs. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I was 17 and I made like a photocopy of my passport, and I I don't think I might get in trouble for this, but I changed the date
To get into clubs?
to get in the club. So I always used to use my Australian passport, photocopy, but hey, I'm from Australia, use my accent and pretty much just party my way through. But that caught up with my body, and I was out one night, and I can't remember doing it, but I tore my meniscus and dislocated my shoulder.
Shit.
And
on a night out?
On a night out.
That's
dancing. So this is what I think it was dancing. I can't remember how I did. I just remember waking up the next morning, my knee was four times the size as it was supposed to do. So on the backside of that, I'd done some initial testing. Did really well in the testing. It was supposed to. I think it was about a month because the process at that time was quite delayed. So it was about a month before my medical. So the swelling went down, but the instability in the knee was still there. So. They're pretty strict when it comes to any sort of injuries. They just looked at it and, they put me on a holding pattern for 12 months.
Oh, shit. So you couldn't do much. And
so couldn't do much. And that's, to be honest, probably one of my biggest, I never lived with regret, but I really would love to actually experience that at that younger stage because, as you start getting older and older, there's different priorities. But, when you're in that 17, 18, 19, it would have been a great building block.
Oh, absolutely.
But, it is what it is. And that's kind of literally how I kind of fell into fitness. So I ended up being there in the UK for another about 6 to 8 months.
I should have done that, actually. Thinking of it, my 17, 18 period was so bad.
Just wasted.
Yeah, it was completely wasted because I was just going to high school doing not much. But if I had enrolled into the army for just a couple of years, and then you go back into your studies, I might have been mentally more prepared for a lot of things. Yeah. That's a shame, but good thinking. Yeah,
so definitely that was a bit of a thing that I kind of wish I did properly, but that's where I literally fell into fitness because I had to obviously build my knee up, build my body back up, so that's kind of where the kind of fitness journey kind of started from, really.
Yeah, okay. So from that point on, you couldn't stay that long in the UK, you stayed, what, a couple of years? Yeah,
so it was about, I think it was just over 13 months that I was in the UK for the first time. My dad was working in the UAE at the time, so...
UAE?
Yeah,
like Dubai
he was in Abu Dhabi. He was in Abu Dhabi, so I kind of went with the intention of going to Abu Dhabi, trying to get a job, staying there for a period of time. But it was just, at that stage, I didn't really have any qualifications. I was, I was still only 17. So I was kind of I think I just turned 18. It was just after my 18th birthday. So my 18th in the UK, it would have been about October time that I was there.
So then this is where you decided to leave.
And then I was there. So I was there only for about 2 months, and then I went back to Australia because just
so you went to Abu Dhabi 2 months, and then you went back to Australia. So you were 18. We met you were 22, I think, something like this. Yeah, and then essentially I was on the Gold Coast pretty much from that period. So I ended up going home. Yeah. So from that period onwards, it ended up being about two years I was on the Gold Coast. And that's where I did a mixture of things. I was prior to leaving to the UK, I was doing like a landscaping apprenticeship. So I was working as a landscaper. I did car detailing. I did got bored of retail. This is when did you decide to move to Sydney? And what was the trigger point that said, well, I'm done with the Gold Coast, I want something else?
Yeah, great question. It was, I was doing my fitness certifications because, about pretty much I was just about my 19th birthday. So it was about another 12 months where I was 18 and I just partied, drunk, everything I could get my hands on, because the Gold Coast is essentially in Australia like Miami is to the US, and it's a party place. So you can get whatever you want. It's fun. There's nightclubs every night of the week. It's quite a party lifestyle. So being 18, that was perfect, and definitely I enjoyed that part of my life. In a different way, it's that kind of experience of being an 18. But I pretty much my 19th birthday kind of looked at myself physically, and I was just like,
shit,
skinny, drunk, homeless guy, really. And I had.
Were you working out at the time?
Yeah, so I kind of was pretty much after my 19th birthday. Like I was, when I was 18, I was kind of going through, I was training, but I was drinking too much still.
Yeah,
I was kind of, you were going sporadically with friends. We went to like a little gym in like a hotel, and it was quite fun. But pretty much, 19th birthday is just when I was like, all right, I'm gonna, really commit to this. So, I think I took out alcohol, took out drugs, took out everything, and just, it was probably my first big body transformation where I was, went from, having, I think I was at one stage, it would have been around, I think it was like 59 kilos.
Oh, shit.
So I was skinny.
Oh, yeah.
Like really skinny.
That's really
so
skinny.
really light. So, I'm sitting at about 92 kilos now, so it was, I was quite small and skinny in that, real alcohol body when you just don't do any exercise.
Yeah.
So,
but you started so you stopped all these bad habits still on the Gold Coast.
Still on the Gold Coast.
Yeah. And when was the point you said, I'm attracted to Sydney, I want to go to Sydney, and why Sydney?
Yeah, so it was really, I got to a point, so it was about, again, after the 19th, I probably took 6 months, and I was just like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing because I'm still around the wrong people. And I love my friends, the Gold Coast, and there's a lot of good things about the Gold Coast, but, for me, it's just like, sometimes you need to change your environment, and I'm all about environmental changes. And, if I could get out to Sydney, it was a bigger city, there's a lot more going on, a lot more opportunities. So really I was kind of, probably for about a 4 or 5 month period, I was looking for jobs, I was applying. But then I saw this job come up for Fitness First.
Oh, yeah?
So saw this job come up for Fitness First, which...
But so you applied from the Gold Coast?
From the Gold Coast,
so you hadn't moved yet?
Yeah, I hadn't moved. I was living there. So I had a phone interview, would have been on I think it was like a Tuesday.
Was it with Carl?
No, it wasn't. It was the HR guy, but yeah, not Carl. Carl, if you're out there, buddy, we love you. And then, had a phone interview on Tuesday, and then they were doing the actual interviews face to face in Sydney.
So you had to go
on the Thursday. Yeah. So I literally booked the flight the next day. I flew down to Sydney. So it's about 2 hours, a little bit, hour and a half flight. So it's kind of like London to Geneva, so it's kind of the same sort of distance. So went down, did the interview, called me on the Friday, offered me the job. I packed all my stuff up on the Saturday and then drove down on. So I had a car. Yeah, so I drove. Yeah. So it's about 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
So lucky we got family halfway, so I did half the journey. Caught up with my grandparents were still alive then. They lived where I used to grow up. So stopped, caught up with them, and drove the rest of the way. Then started in a gym called The Zone, which was Fitness First.
This is where we met.
Where I met you. So, I'd been working there for close to about 4 or 5 months, I think, when you kind of stumbled in.
Okay, yeah. I arrived, it was November 2013, and I started working January 2014.
Yeah. So we started, it opened July 13. Mm-hmm. So
it was all brand new. Yeah, that's very true. So you started working there for the opening?
Yeah. So we did kind of a month worth of training, which was incredible. Like we got certified on 5, 6 different fitness apparatuses and equipment. So it was an amazing training experience, and
You've seen how it is now?
I've seen videos of it.
It's completely changed. I really want to go back and have a look at it because they've done a whole rebuild of the place.
It's crazy because it was really the investment they did initially, and then obviously the reinvestment. It's they've thrown a lot of money at it.
Yeah. So from that point on, this is where we started living together and all this stuff. But fast forward, I left. So I left in January 2015.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it was January 2015, doing the Miami stuff, F45, didn't work out.
F45,
yeah. It's still going good now. Mark Wahlberg is an investor, and David Beckham, that's good.
Yeah.
But I would have been bored of working there. But then we kind of lost touch for a bit. I did that, so I came back home. I went to London after that.
Yeah.
And that point on, what did you end up doing? Because you stayed a bit, but then you decided to fuck off and just to go to weird ass places.
I did, yeah. Yeah, so pretty much, that would have been about 2 years. I was fitness first. So at that point where you left, so I ended up getting a job as personal training manager with Fitness First.
Yeah.
So
which one was it still the same?
No, different club. So it was over in North Sydney. It was at Walcott Street.
I remember.
So I was a personal training manager. So at the time, I was only would have been 21-ish, just turned 22, I think. And that's where essentially I got my first management. And my view is always, I wanted to learn how to manage people. Yeah. So for me, university is great, but until you're practically experienced having interactions with real humans, it's different. So it was a great step. I think I did, and I think if you look at numbers, financially, I did pretty well. It was quite successful. I was a bit of the golden child, I suppose, and that was kind of the joke in between all the personal training managers. I was a bit of a golden child, which is great. You were managing we had 16 personal trainers who were self-employed, and then we had 2 or 3 dependent employed trainers as well. So did that, then moved across and then to a bigger club, so King's Cross.
Oh yeah, you worked for King's Cross.
Yeah, that was cool. That was good. And that was a massive club, so we had 29 trainers and 26 trainers. So it was a big club. Most swipes in Australia, so it was the most visited. Longest,
oh wow! In Australia,
yeah, fitness first wise, and the longest operating hours as well. So they opened from 5 a.m. and they shut at midnight, Monday to Friday. So it was crazy. But I just got to a point where it's just I learned everything that I want to learn, and I've been in Sydney for 4.5 years, and it was for me. I was a bit bored.
Yeah. I was going to say, you got bored of Australia.
Yeah, bored of Australia. Yeah, I love Australia. It's a beautiful country, but it's it gets to a point where you're just kind of doing the same things. There's just not much variety.
It's far from everything.
Far from everything, and opportunities then are limited to Australian opportunities. So decided I'll just pull the trigger on it. Literally, so my lease was ending September 2018. So literally in 2 weeks, and I was actually literally about to re-sign the lease for another 12 months with my house.
Okay.
It was a really nice apartment. It was overlooking Sydney Harbour. It was beautiful. It was all set up. Just something said, just pull the trigger. So I just pulled the trigger on it, decided and then pretty much packed my house up, drove my house back up to the Gold Coast, so 12 hours, dropped them off, turned back around, drove back, and then, just before I had my... I can't even remember which birthday, 25th, 26th, one of my birthdays, maybe younger, 24th, one of my birthdays, one of the years. And then had my birthday in Sydney, and then literally, left, and again, went to Thailand again.
Oh, you left from Sydney, so you dropped all your stuff, came back, sold your car, or maybe no? Yeah,
no, so what did I end up doing with my car? So, I had a van, so I had a hire van that I had, and I already sold my car. So my van took it up, and then I already sold my car. And then, literally just packed up my stuff. And
you went to Thailand. What was the goal of it?
Again, it was just a break, kind of work out what I wanted to do. For me...
How long did you stay there for?
So I was there again for another good 2 months.
Okay.
For me, it's Thailand's kind of my zen spot. So kind of any major transition in life that I've ever gone through, I kind of go to Thailand and I chill, and it's good food. I go train there, amazing gyms, super relaxed, nice lifestyle, and it just kind of gives you some time to kind of clear the head. I was looking for a job at the time. Ended up actually, friends at F45. I was doing some work for F45 in Australia, and there was another
from Thailand.
No, so this was just before I left. So just before, so near my house in Sydney, there was an F45, and I was doing some casual shifts.
So you went a couple of months in Thailand, came back to Sydney.
No, sorry. So before I left to Sydney, I was doing some work for F45. Okay. So I knew a couple guys with F45. Yeah. Then once I got to Thailand, I kind of messaged some people, and I knew there was a couple who was opening F45 in London.
Oh, yeah.
And then I messaged them, and they're like, yeah, we're opening it, blah, blah, blah. Come down. Obviously we'll do a bit of an interview and potential doing some work for us.
So you managed an F45 in London?
So in Chelmsford.
Fuck it, remember, there was really not the same time frame. That's a shame because I
Yeah.
was doing the exact same
Pretty much.
in London Bridge. Yeah.
Pretty much. So that ended up having an interview with them, did some works, did some work with them. It ended up being delayed with the build, so it ended up being pushed out. So really, I was kind of not particularly happy. It was kind of like winter. It was November. It was kind of just that time of year where it was cold and not particularly fun. And there was delays with the build. So I was doing some other bits and pieces. Some like
Was it the time where we met in Birmingham?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 2017.
2010. Yes.
Yeah, because I had my long hair and we went to Moose's place in Birmingham. Yes.
Yeah.
So 2017. So yeah, we hadn't seen each other for like couple years, nearly 3 years.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, because it was the end of 2017 and we hadn't seen each other since the beginning of 2015. So yeah, that's exactly this. Yeah, I have a very good memory on the dates.
My memory, dates, ages. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
So yeah, you did that. So I remember I followed that. We were in touch, but then you disappeared to Pakistan.
So yeah, that ended up happening. So yeah, just randomly, had some communication with a wealthy Pakistani, and they ended up did some kind of phone interviews and stuff like that. And yeah, they ended up offering me a job.
So from London, this is where you went straight to Pakistan.
Straight to Pakistan.
For how long?
So I ended up being there for about 11 months, give or take.
Oh, that's a lot. How was it?
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, definitely, honestly, one of the best experiences of my life. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Incredible. A beautiful country, beautiful people. You live in this really weird bubble as well.
Yeah.
Just the people you're associating with as well. They're very affluent, successful Pakistanis. You have very crazy parties, and I was training like a Pakistani cricket captain, and there was celebrities.
Okay.
Like I was training like this. She was a partner of one of the family members, but she was like big on TV.
Oh yeah, in Pakistan.
Yeah, there was a couple of other girls who were similar age to me or just slightly older, and they were kind of getting semi-big on TV as well. And you'd go to the parties.
And how come you didn't get big on TV there?
Because it's just not my jam. I'm Mr. Anti-social media. I was
just that's true. So if you're looking for him on social media, it literally does not exist. That's a shame. He doesn't have Instagram or nothing.
Nothing. I'm not about that life. Fame isn't for me. It's not my jam.
So what was the weirdest thing? Like, because obviously there's always a cultural shock when you move to another country, and Pakistan is literally out of the box thinking.
Yep.
So what was it? You probably have encountered some weird stuff.
Some pretty weird things. I think even just like the initial, as I flew with PIA, which is the Pakistani airline, and it's just like they actually got banned from doing international flights for a while. That's not good. So I ended up getting there, and I was just like, it was just bad flight. Literally, I was on the aisle, but right next to the galley, and I had like 6 or 7 Pakistani dudes just like talking to each other right in front of me. This was a night flight.
Yeah.
So you're trying to sleep, and then every single time, because I was semi-wide, my shoulders always stick out of the seats. So every single time they walk past, it bumped me. So I got like 0 sleep. So I got in at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and I was going straight to work.
You were going straight to work?
Yeah, it was extreme. So ended up getting off, and it's wedding season as well. So I got there in February, and kind of February, March is wedding season.
Wedding,
people getting
really?
weddings. Yeah,
wedding seasons.
Yeah, so when it's nice weather and it's not too hot or too cold.
Okay.
They have wedding seasons. Everyone gets married, and then get off, and I'm the only white guy.
Okay.
Lahore Airport, only white guy, no English. If you've ever been to Lahore Airport, it's absolute carnage. There's just humans everywhere. There's no organisation. There's like bags flying off the carousel. There's people trying. Obviously, you're a white guy and you've got money. They want to obviously help you. So I had like 20 people trying to help me. I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm getting my own bags. Leave me alone. I had no sleep at this point. First off, when I was getting the visas as well, they were like, they just didn't know what was going on. I just don't think they get many visas coming through. So that was fun at security, and then I get off, and I'm like, literally, like, I've got no idea, because I don't even know who I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea who I'm looking for, and I'm like, and there's just plethora of humans with like flowers and smells, and they're all in wedding dresses, and there's just like 2,000 people within like an airport, and it's just like, what is going on? And it's hot and it's warm, and it's just like, holy moly, I'm in a different planet. The driver, I ended up finding my driver, and then he ends up taking me back, and it's just that first initial thing when you're driving through military checkpoints, and within kind of Lahore, you have the military controlled area, so you always have to go in and out of like army checkpoints and secure kind of areas and compounds. So you're going through that, and that's obviously a culture shock, because there's like guys with like AK-47s, and there's a lot of weapons, and there's checkpoints, and they look at you because you're a white guy, and they'll get your passport, and they're like, what are you doing here? So that was kind of that initial crazy culture shock, and then just really some cool experiences all the way through. Like we went shooting, that was fun.
You could shoot guns.
One of the families I ended up being friends with, they had a farm, and they had guns, and they had like this shooting range, so literally like a moving target. So they had like this machine that would like bring a target up and down. They did clay pigeon shooting, all the types, but obviously the moving target was sick. So
the clay pigeons, they were like actual clay pigeons.
No, actual clay pigeons.
They were not pigeons.
They weren't pigeons.
Because I went to Spain and I shot real pigeons.
Oh, that's fun.
That's completely different. I had no clue what was going on.
That was fun, because there was they cracked out like ARs and AK-47s, pistols and stuff like that.
Wasn't you that told me there was some weird stuff that you could actually do with guns over there, like shooting rocket launchers?
So pretty much you could get your hands on whatever you want. So whatever type of military hardware. So if you wanted to get grenades or RPGs or pretty much anything, you go within the tribal area and region, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Like RPGs, any sort of like explosives, you can get your hands on.
I can't remember, I've heard something, I don't remember if it was you talking about people that could potentially like shoot cows with rocket launchers. That's they can do that. Okay. So that was this.
They're definitely liberal with the way that they
shooting
use
chickens with like AK-47.
That was actually Cambodia.
Okay. Yes, exactly.
Cambodia. So
about this.
Cambodia, you can actually. So we weren't shooting. This was when I was like 14, and you go onto a military base, and it's just like a Cambodian military base, and they literally have this whole wall of weapons, and you can choose whatever you want, shoot it. And that was like my first exposure to AK-47s. But they're in like a gun range, and it's just like a clay building kind of tunnel. And then they set up the AK, and then what they do is they put a chicken down the end, and then you just obviously shoot the chicken.
A living chicken that runs around.
And then also, they sell, you can buy...
That's horrible, but it's so funny.
Right, at that same place is you could buy grenades and grenade launchers, and what you do with the grenade is you pull the pin, and they've got like this big water pit, and you just drop the grenade within the water pit, and then it goes.
Okay.
So that was in Pakistan, but they can do that in Pakistan. And there's just cool things, man. It's just like I was there during Ramadan, so you pretty much sleep the whole day. You sit kind of there all together.
So you did that with them?
I did. I didn't do a full. I did like they do full, so then no water, no food. I was still working, so I was still training people and working during the day. So I had water, because at that point of year it's close to 40 degrees.
But people that you were training, were they doing it?
The mixture.
Because that means during a workout they could not drink a sip of water.
Yeah. So at the end of the Eid, so generally a lot of them would train close to the end of iftar, which is the end of Ramadan, the day where you can then start eating. They'll train in the morning, in the evening, sorry, and then they literally go have water and directly after. So some people did, and it's definitely hats off to them. And there's a lot of elite athletes who do as well. So definitely difficult, but the experience of it, I think, is there's a lot of benefits to Ramadan.
So which city were you in?
Lahore.
Never heard of this.
Yeah, it's a big city. It's 13.5.
What's the capital of Pakistan? I don't even know.
Islamabad.
Oh, it's Islamabad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was that was definitely a cool experience, just kind of being there during Ramadan. And then probably my most favorite experience is we had a little bit of a boys trip where I think we had 4 Porsche 911s, 3 Porsche Cayennes, and then armored guards on each end, and then we'd literally just be like going through the mountains on these Porsche 911s, up these mountains. It was just such a weird experience because you've got ultra wealth and then ultra poor, and you're going through, it's the tax on luxury cars is about 300%. So it's like £100,000 car or 100,000 euro is 300,000, and you're driving a 300,000 euro car, and there's a guy who's begging for nothing. Yeah, so it was a weird experience.
Differences.
Biggest difference, extreme wealth and extreme poverty.
So you were a personal trainer there.
Yep.
For nearly a year.
Yep.
And what was happening at the end? What did you feel you had to leave? What was the plan?
Because I was going to work for a family, and they were planning to open a gym. So another family I ended up wanting to go work with, what's the year now? 2022, and they still haven't opened the gym.
Okay, so you were that's bullshit.
It was just not going to happen. I was helping with the building, and I've got, they were opening like a whole mall, and they had like a cinema. They've opened the cinema finally, but they had like shops and restaurants, and it was in the main street of Lahore. But it was it got to that point where I was just like, I've had a great time, but I just needed something a little bit more. So,
So straight after Pakistan, did you go back to London for a bit, or this is where you decided to actually go to Saudi?
No, so I went back to London. So when I was there, I was just kind of looking for a couple of jobs. I was putting in for things that were interesting. And there was like a general manager gym role that came up for like a small independent gym in London, just in Battersea. So did the phone interviews while I was in Pakistan, and then same sort of thing. They were like, "Hey, do you want to do a face-to-face?" And I was just like,
back to London.
I just went back to London. And they luckily enough, I got offered the job after the interviews. I was probably flying from Pakistan, showed that I was semi-committed to it. That was like kind of my first gym manager role in a sense. So kind of a club manager. So I was only would have been 25 at the time. Nice. So that was quite again another good learning experience. It was an independent gym, so I was literally doing everything. So it was marketing, I was managing the sales team, I was doing the fitness programming. So I was literally kind of like a jack of all hands. We ended up doing a refurb there, so we ended up spending £500,000 on gutting the place, refurbing it.
Was it an independent place or a chain?
No, it was owned by, so there was 4 directors, there was 3 kind of heavily involved in it. So I kind of reported directly to those directors, and there were
What was the gym called?
Stars Gym.
Stars Gym. Where is it based?
Battersea.
No clue where it is.
Near Battersea Park, kind of across from where Chelsea is. So where Chelsea and Chelsea.
Still pretty center.
Back from centre. So technically it's southwest.
Okay.
Near Clapham. So it's good. Yeah, good little spot. Right next to Battersea Park, and it was a good gym. And again, really hands-on role where I got to do a lot of things. Got to voice a lot of my ideas. We did the refurb.
That's good, man.
Did all those bits.
That's a lot of experiences that you've accumulated over time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And it was always, for me, it's practical. I'm a better learner in a sense that I like learning practically and experiencing things, and it's made me a much better trainer and manager and business owner as well. So, I think for me, the way that I learn is always the best way, and then I kind of supplement it with like short courses, because then you can kind of be very specific as what am I lacking, what are the skill sets I need, because for me, doing 4 years of a uni degree was never going to be my jam, because it's just like, I hate wasting time if I don't have to do something, and learning to learn isn't for me the thing that was really inspired me to go to uni. So so I was there for 2 years as they changed my role. So I was a club director, and
then again you're like, I need something else.
Just something else, and that's where. So this is where actually. So I quit my job. as club director with that business, because my heart just wasn't in it again. And I told him, I was just like, hey, you know, I've done the refurb, I've done anything. You need someone who's just going to be your average come in gym guy who's just going to tick over and do all the boring stuff that I hate doing. So I quit my job 2 weeks before COVID.
Oh,
Obviously, not really knowing. Like, you know, I remember the conversation. It's like, ooh, COVID, China, you know, everything's coming up, and I'm like, yay, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be great. So initially, actually, you know, went to get a job with a gym in the central London with the Saudi guys. They were opening.
so where did you meet them?
I actually had an interview with him probably about 4 months prior to COVID.
Okay.
But he was working for like this third party.
So you had
Saudi
reached
gym
out
chain.
people in Saudi, or were they based in London?
So he kind of spread his time. He was based kind of Bahrain, Saudi, and London.
Okay.
But yeah, so he contacted me out of the blue because I had an interview with him, but he was doing some work for like a Saudi gym chain. I didn't end up getting that job, but then he reached out and said, hey, I'm actually opening a gym in London. Do you want to work for me? And I was like, yeah, I'll have a look. The package wasn't kind of what I wanted at the time. And again, it was kind of quite a similar.
And this was
role.
COVID.
Yeah, and then COVID happened, so everyone closed down. So it was just like I was kind of I was stuck. I luckily enough, you know, I spoke to the gym, and you know, they needed someone to kind of oversee the gym. So I kind of worked with the gym during COVID period, just to obviously make sure that, you know, stars had, you know, the equipment was all fine. We did some, you know, some automation. We're doing home workouts
And still getting money coming in.
and still having some money coming in. So that was good. So otherwise it would have been completely stuff. Yeah, it was ended up being quite nice. You know, I still had access to a gym, so I was still training. I had a bit of a routine.
Oh yeah, I remember actually. You said I had the gym for myself.
Yeah, it's great. It was living the dream. So that was really good. I was training.
So was it 2020 when you came to Valencia? Was it that time? Oh yeah, because COVID. Because the time after Birmingham that we saw each other was actually 2020 during the summertime. You came visit for a couple of days in Valencia. Yes.
Yeah. So that was like that was like mid COVID. That was like right in the middle of it. And we literally, me and the girl that I was seeing at the time, who I met during COVID on Tinder, ended up being a girlfriend for a while.
Who's that? TJ?
TJ, yeah.
Oh, okay.
TJ. Absolute superstar. We were just like, oh, let's do something. Let's just book it. And at that time, there wasn't any flights, and we weren't really allowed to. But literally, the UK government, like 2 or 3 days before we were about to fly, allowed international flight. And then,
Ouais. Is that good? It's good.
bloody great.
Yeah. Welcome back. Bon les gars, vous avez pu notifier, il y a eu une légère coupure. Il semblerait qu'on ait eu un problème de batterie. Donc c'était pas prévu au programme, je pensais pas que ça allait téter autant. Donc j'ai des micros en plus qui sont forcément branchés sur l'appareil, donc je pense que ça tète un peu plus de batterie. Mais du coup, entre temps, vu qu'on a la batterie, j'en ai qu'une. J'en ai immédiatement recommandé une sur Amazon. Elle n'est pas encore là, mais on a bougé. Donc on était là en début d'après-midi, ensuite on est parti sur Annecy, ensuite on est parti au gym. Et là, littéralement, on revient du gym. On est un poil plus pumpé que tout à l'heure. Et on va reprendre de là où on était terminé. En plus, c'était un peu son dernier chapitre avant de rebouger sur Londres de manière plus permanente. C'était l'expérience Arabie Saoudite. Donc, let's get back into the Saudi side of things. This is where we stopped, I guess.
We're hoping so. We could.
Yeah, no, I think so.
I think
because we were about. Yeah, we talked about the guys you met in London that was doing stuff in between both.
Yeah.
And then how did you get that gig over there?
Yeah. So it was So COVID happened, and then I was kind of everything closed down. So they obviously went back to Saudi. And I ended up working just kind of on and off, and was in London for the lockdown. Which ended up being nice. So I was working for the gym that I was managing. I was doing some bits and pieces there. Got through the first lockdown, and then summer 2020. That was fun. That was fine. I was working, but then kind of felt like there was going to be a second lockdown. So I reached out to those guys and I was like, "Hey, do you have anything happening?" And they're like, yeah, we do. We've got some PTing stuff. So
So it was to get out of London because the second lockdown was going to happen.
yeah, that's correct. So I didn't want to get locked down for a winter in London.
That's fair.
Couldn't think of anything worse. London's a great city, but yeah, if you're locked in your house, it's pretty rubbish. So yeah, ended up going over December 2020, and flew in there. I think I got there on the 15th of December, and then London went into UK went in lockdown, and I think it was the 21st or 22nd they went into lockdown, so missed that. So yeah, I was there, in the compound in Saudi. So I was doing some bits.
So you didn't have any second thoughts, or what? You're like, I want to get out of London.
Yeah.
What opportunities are here? What can I seize right now?
And
so
that,
Saudi, and that was a personal training job.
Yeah, it was a personal training. So it was just personal training. So the guy had a personal training company, a really good bunch of Western trainers, and they did kind of high-end personal training for the ultra wealthy and VIPs around Saudi. So ended up training some of the royal family. I was working at the Four Seasons in the Kingdom Tower, which is one of the big main buildings in Riyadh. And then I was there for 3 months. Wasn't really it was kind of hard because of lockdown. I had a girlfriend at the time, so I felt bad for her because she was just stuck
in the UK.
Yeah, she was stuck in London over.
Because I remember when you left there, you gave me a call and we talked this through, but that maybe I could go for a couple of months and work as a PT as well. Yeah, for that Christmas time around that. Yeah. So you did only 3 months in the end.
Yeah, I only did 3 months because that was the visa. Because you had to go back out. So I kind of went back with kind of a feeling of I had to go. No, I had to go back, but I wanted to go back because my girlfriend was there at the time. So
yeah, that's cute.
Very cute. So it was hard for her because in a normal world it would have been fine. We could have been able to obviously fly, meet each other, go to UAE, meet each other halfway. So that ability to connect and see each other would have been much easier. So wouldn't have been as big of a deal because literally for the 3 months we were locked in. We didn't know obviously when lockdowns were going to end. You can only fly for business. Obviously there were certain rules during COVID. It was expensive to fly, so it was just ended up being just a bit of a hassle really. So I decided to go back, and during that kind of period, in 20 anyway, I was building up my PT business in London.
But before that, so you left, you stayed 3 months. What was for you the experience over there? Like in Saudi, obviously it's completely different.
Yeah.
The religion is different, everything is different, even the approach with girls, with everything. Like what was the weirdest moment for you? What was the most shocking at say?
Yeah, probably the weirdest moment is actually being hit on by a girl. I've never had a girl come up to me in like a public place, and it was in a mall, and I was just waiting for food, and she started interacting with me. She made a comment about my shoes, and I had nice shoes, and then she asked for my number. I had a girlfriend at the time, so I declined. But for me, it's because of the cultural difference.
Oh, so this is what happens there.
Yeah.
Girls come to you.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's different in a sense that the interaction, the male wouldn't ever approach. They're very not timid, but
Really?
A male wouldn't. They wouldn't interact with a female. They're very young. They're very mature in the sense of how they interact because they're not really allowed to interact with women.
Oh, they're not really allowed to.
Not really. No, because the way that the way definitely kind of up until MBS, who is who's in line to be the new king. He was trying to modernise Saudi, so pre to that it was a very strict religious country, so there was very strict rules on women driving, women being in a company of a man.
So they couldn't do any of that. Couldn't drive, couldn't do anything. Wow.
No.
Oh,
so
it's rough.
Yeah, so now they're trying to modernise, and obviously these guys are kind of growing up not really knowing how to interact with females. Yeah. But then obviously that's kind of empowered women, and if you're a Western.
So now they. Oh, okay, got you. So now they actually come up to people because of that modernization.
Yeah. So it's empowered women more so than I think men.
So it's not as scary of a place as we could hear about.
No, definitely not. It's just like since MBS, so MBS is Mohammed bin Salman, which is the crown prince who's pretty much in charge.
Yeah.
He is scary. He's the guy who killed the Saudi journalist in Turkey.
Yeah.
But well, apparently, allegedly. Don't hurt me, MBS. So allegedly, he obviously did that, but he's tried to modernize Saudi and invest in infrastructure. Turn it into a country that in 30 years will not have to rely on oil as the sole income. So they're doing a lot of cool things. It does come at a cost, in certain different areas, but yeah, he's tried to modernise it, and women can drive. There's a lot more rights for women.
Okay.
Still, quite a strict religious laws, and they still do, beheadings.
So did you have any
like that.
challenges you had to face when you were there? Like, did you had to adapt? Because, for example, just for me, when I went to Dubai for 10 days, I was already shocked by the fact that you had the subway, and there was females and males in separate wagons.
Yep.
And from this, I was already, what the hell? Like,
Yeah. And
how is it compared to that?
I think it is difficult. There's a couple of things. There's one, it was COVID, so there was different kind of restrictions on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a kind of a normal thing. And also when you're in expat life, and we lived in an expat community and compound, so we have armed guards and military.
Okay, so
at the
you're
gate.
isolated from the actual life.
Yeah, like the lifestyle within the compound is,
So
it kind of feels like being in America.
So it's a small city in a city.
Yeah, so you've got, we had 2 pools, we had like a rec centre with squash courts and gym and, everything. So it's kind of, you're isolated. But when you do get out and you do interact, it's, even then we all had drivers, so we all kind of got driven around everywhere. So we didn't really interact too much with anyone outside. But yeah, and again, and also on top of that is you're kind of in a society that are generally Western educated, like you're in upper caste, are generally going to school in the US or the UK, so you don't really see the real side of it, and there's only real limited times that you see it. But yeah, you need to, like if you go to the shops, you'll need to put pants on, you can't have shorts.
Oh, wow.
They won't let you in, like if you're exposing your legs.
What about tattoos?
Tattoos, they're okay, but again, they generally like you're covered. So the covering the legs is a very important thing.
For girls as well?
Definitely, well, girls, there's no choice.
And girls, when they get out of the compound, they have to wear the veil?
Not Western girls, but Western girls do have to be covered. They're not strict when it comes to the covering, but for a Saudi
Covered
girl... so you've got Saudi girls will wear the full, so they'll only be the
eyes.
The eyes.
So when was someone actually, the girl that came up to you, how was she dressed?
Yeah, she was fully covered.
Oh, she was fully covered.
Yeah.
So you talked to... She asked for your number and you could only see her
I had
eyes.
no idea what was going on, yeah.
So you had no idea how she looked?
Yeah, so...
Oh, that's pretty terrible.
Yeah, so, she could have been, an absolute stunner, I had no idea, so...
Or the very opposite.
Or the very opposite, who knows. But, so Saudi women, so when they go out, they'll be pretty much fully covered.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, so...
Even with that modernization,
you'll see elements of it. So elements of certain. If you're in a private event or something like that, they'll be open. But if you're kind of walking around in public, in a real kind of open public
and even
space,
if it's like 50 degrees outside, you can't wear any t-shirts and shorts.
No, to be honest, it's actually the reason why they wear it as well is actually really cool. So I have the full Saudi get up, and it's actually, I love wearing it.
Oh, it's like the dress kind of thing, and it covers everything, but it's just very light.
It's light.
Oh,
It's airy. So to be honest, if I could wear that during summer in London, I'd be quite happy. But I don't think I can pull it off. But yeah, it's definitely there's still very strict rules, and then they obviously have their beliefs. And I think the biggest thing is just integrating. I think and making sure that you're respectful and I think I always did that. Whichever country I go to, is in Pakistan, I'd always wear a shabak, which is the full. So it's the shabaks is you have kind of kutas, which is like the shorts, which are underneath, and then the shabak is like the long one, which goes
all the way down,
about knee height.
Okay.
So you got that. So I always used to ride around on my little Dissy motorbike and wear that. So I used to blend in.
Okay.
Same with Saudi. I'd always used to wear the Saudi
All
getup.
right.
So just assimilated, right? I think it's just like, I don't think there's anything worse than going to a country, not understanding the culture, not respecting the culture.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I think if you go to those countries, you respect the culture, you understand the culture, and you try to, say the welcomes and say hellos and be respectful, then you can go a long way to
Well, if they're
adapting.
respectful of you, that's good then.
Yeah, I think showing respect straight away is they'll be respectful for you.
Okay, that's
I think
good.
there's nothing worse than
There's no hate for like white people, Caucasians, Westerns, like Americans, for example.
Again, I think there's probably a negativity towards Americans more so. Other Westerners not as much.
Yeah.
I generally always said I was Australian, but again, it's just like, I think it's the way that you approach, and I think I always got really positive responses when I was dressed locally and
So you blended in.
Introduced myself in their language. I'm not good at languages at all, but at least make an effort.
Make the effort to know how to say hello and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you started learning Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
I did actually, when I was supposed to come join you, I did start learning Arabic. It was a challenge, man. It was really hard because of the alphabet, but at some point I knew all the letters, but I've stopped, and because you went back to London and I had no clue because you fucking changed number, and so kind of lost touch, because yes, he's not on social media, he's nowhere to be found. So if you want to know more about him, that's going to be quite complicated until he wants to actually jump in on Instagram or something, because when you can only contact him through his phone number, and he changed his phone number. You know what I did? Fucking reached out to his mom on Facebook to ask if she had the latest number. She did, but terrible, man.
Yeah, even mum and dad don't have the number sometimes. So but that's I investing a lot of time in myself in social media is a distraction.
Yeah, that's fair enough too.
And at the moment it's something I will do in the future. But for now, with my fitness journey and my professional journey, it's not a tool that I need.
And across every single country that you've done, that you've lived in, what was probably the place you'd be like, I could live here, I enjoyed it, and I know there's not as many barriers that, for example, compared to Saudi, that was a lot harder to blend in.
Yeah, I think if you had the chance, the opportunity to live in any of those Middle Eastern states, so I would like Qatar, Bahrain.
Did you like those places?
Love those places.
Okay, that's interesting.
I think if you want to go there, you want to meet some great people, you want to earn a decent wage, you don't want to pay a huge amount of tax, feel safe, and I think this is the biggest thing. Even in Saudi, Emirates, zero crime.
Yeah.
They have control. The government, obviously, they've got their issues, their governments, but zero crime, no robbery. Feel very, very safe.
Yeah.
As a male, definitely a benefit being a male in that sort of environment. But then a lot of benefits on they love community, they love family. So it's a nice place to be in your early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, because you can save a lot of money, have a really nice lifestyle, and now COVID's not around, you can
would go to those places?
Oh, yeah. If someone offered me a job tomorrow in one of those spots, I'd jump at it.
What about Dubai?
I wouldn't do Dubai because it's a bit fake for me, not my scene. If you want to grow your Instagram, or you're looking to kind of be in that sort of environment, Dubai is probably the place to go, but for me, I would potentially make more money in Qatar or Bahrain, and or even Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi still for me is quite
and,
nice.
And what about religion-wise? Isn't it too hard to get in? Like, for example, you get the call for the prayer every day, many times a day through. It's like a church, but it's still different. Yeah. And we accept all religions, but could it be too hard? How do you feel about all this? You don't care, you blend in and whatever?
You blend in, you blend in. I think the biggest thing, you adapt, you blend in, and also I think the society is definitely in those countries are kind of adapting what they do to a little bit to Western culture, but without losing their values.
Yes.
Because their work weeks have now shifted. The work weeks used to be so Sunday to Thursday. Okay. So they used to work Sunday to Thursday. They're now Monday to Friday. So they've shifted, because it used to be religious. So Friday used to be, they're called the prayer. So it's one of my main prayers on Friday. So,
because Friday is the day they pray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they used to have that day as kind of their day where kind of like a Sunday for Christianity, same sort of thing. But now what they do is they do Monday to Friday. Obviously, the Westerners just kind of still work through full day. But
what about if you were to move to, let's say, Qatar, you get a job offer, you leave without being in that specific expat community, so like with the general population, and you have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
How does it work? Can you do everything you would do in a Western country, or are you limited on a lot of things?
Technically, yeah, you can get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, that was my concern.
So you have to be. Again, it's respectful to the culture and what they do. So, as a Westerner, you get a little bit of wiggle room, in the sense that, if you're not supposed to have sex with another female outside of marriage. You're not supposed to. If you went there with a partner, they weren't married, then you're not supposed to.
But still, you're not cheating on your wife if you're married. Technically, this is what you're doing.
You're supposed to be. So to have sex with a female, you need to be married to them.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So if you come into the country without being married, and your neighbors hear you have sex, they could technically...
Technically, yeah.
Shit.
So.
It's not great.
It's not good. But again, it's, you do get a little bit of wiggle room being a Westerner. And, if you're not, as long as you're not, in the middle of a beach having sex with your partner, then I think you're going to be all right.
Okay, so you have to keep all your affection at home.
Yeah.
Can you hold your partner's hand in the street?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. So no?
No. I think, I think you need to, just touching females in general in public, whether it's a partner or not, is not really a wise decision.
Okay,
but that's just their religion. You respect the way that they are.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well that was very interesting. I guess we know a lot more on this, and if you want to go work in one of those countries in the Middle East, you know what to expect.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's really interesting that out of all the countries you've done, you would actually prefer going there. Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Weather is nice. Well, a little too hot during summertime probably. Yeah. London is amazing, but it's really not a great weather.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just you need to look at quality of life, and living in a lot of these Western European countries is you're taxed to the absolute hill.
That's very true.
You pay a huge amount of tax.
It's ridiculous.
Your quality of life can be difficult because it's your weather can be hard, the amount that you pay for bills and infrastructure and tax, and there's always, definitely in the UK, it's probably one of the most heavy taxed countries in the world because it's taxed literally for everything. And I think that's where you can invest some time into the Middle East and be constantly good weather, still access to a lot of good places. The airlines are really good, earn good money, and not have to give it all to the government.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll see what. Maybe I'll consider that in a few years. No clue what I'm going to be doing.
Very easy to set a company up in Dubai.
Yeah, that's true. You need a little cash, but because I'm thinking here, staying about 3 years, and then we'll see. We'll see what happens. No clue, no plans. Go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Well, Tommy boy, thank you so much for.
Merci beaucoup.
For that intervention. That was a tough one. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to put a 5-star review. That's really important. Something else, we tried not to speak too fast. Well, maybe the thick accent came out, but notice that if you had a lot of trouble understanding everything, I can do an extra episode going into details in French of basically his life and make a quick recap of like 20 minutes-ish on a next episode. So let me know if you would be interested in this. If not, if you got everything, then great. Don't hesitate to listen to it once more, because it's also great as a matter of just learning the language, because this is why I'm putting out those English episodes. Sometimes it's for you to really take the time to understand, even if the story is not interesting to you, understand the details so you can blend in whenever you're going to be traveling, whether UK or Australia, because the accents are all different. And obviously when you watch a movie, mainly it's going to be accents from America, which are not really hard to understand. But then if it's UK or Australia, usually it's a little harder to pick up. So I think it's a good exercise for you guys. Let me know what you thought. Don't hesitate to share it with your friends. Have a good time. Let's go. See you soon.
Merci beaucoup.
Ciao.